So I'm delighted to be here today to speak to you about how we work with stakeholders to protect our drinking water sources. So our approach is informed by a number of legislative and policy drivers, namely the Drinking Water Directive and the Water Framework Directive. And the new Drinking Water Directive, which came into regulation last year, really emphasises the need for drinking water source protection. And moves away from the end-of-pipe solutions that the previous directive emphasised. It also creates the link between the Drinking Water Directive and the Water Framework Directive, which was missing from the previous directive. Excuse me, I thought my voice would last more than the first slide. Excuse me. So Donald's already mentioned a lot about the water services policy statement, and there's a priority within that for drinking water source protection. And in response to that, we've developed our draft water services strategic plan, excuse me, which sets out our priorities and objectives over the next 25 years. It's currently out for a public consultation, so if you'd like to feed into that process, you can find more information on our website. Within that plan, one of the key strategies for supplying safe drinking water is coordinating catchment management measures and championing nature-based solutions for source protection. And this is an area we're really committed to at Uisce Éireann, and we're planning on growing our catchment management team and updating our source protection strategy. So currently we have 706 water treatment plants in operation across the country, and we process 1.7 billion litres of water every day. The rates of compliance for the key water quality parameters remain high. So why do we want to protect our drinking water sources? To reduce the risk at source by providing interventions before the treatment stage. We want to minimise raw water quality variations that might cause operational issues at the plant, reducing energy and chemical consumption, and also providing added benefits for general water quality, biodiversity and climate. So what are the key water quality issues that we see in our source waters in Ireland? So we can see potential for exceedances in nutrients such as ammonium and nitrate, which can in turn lead to algal blooms, which sometimes causes taste and odour issues at our supplies. Ammonium can also be a problem and cause operational issues because of the way it interacts with chlorine at our some of our plants. We can also see exceedances in pesticides or a potential for cryptosporidium or E. coli. Sediment and colour can affect the treatability of the water, and natural organic matter can contribute to the formation of disinfection byproducts such as trihalomethanes. So we undertake the Drinking Water Safety Plan process, which is a comprehensive risk assessment and risk management approach to providing safe drinking water. What we do, it was first developed by the World Health Organization and has been since adopted into the new Drinking Water Directive and regulations. So what we do is we identify the risks, and we assess them in terms of their severity and their likelihood of occurrence, and then put in mitigation for these risks. And we do this process at each stage. So we do it for the source, the treatment, and the distribution and storage. So it therefore acts as a multi-barrier approach. Our framework for drinking water source protection is these 3 pillars. So we have collaboration, understanding risk, and managing risk, with collaboration occurring across each of these stages. The regulations and guidelines identify the roles and responsibilities for source protection in Ireland, and identify ourselves, the EPA, Geological Survey, and local authorities all as source protection agencies. So firstly, we strive to understand the risk in our catchments, and we've developed GIS-based risk assessments following the source pathway receptor model, using various EPA and Geological Survey data sets. We also review available water quality information and use that to inform our risk assessments. We then move on to our risk management stage, where we coordinate collaborative risk management within our drinking water catchments, along with other public bodies, to provide added benefits for biodiversity and climate as well. And over the next few years, we'll be collaboratively developing catchment action plans for each of our sources, and working on coordinating the implementation of source protection measures in the catchments. So we have 300 surface water sources and 700 groundwater sources, and combined the total catchment area covers approximately 50% of the land area of Ireland. So protecting and improving our drinking water sources is not something that we can do alone. So what do we actually mean by risk management or catchment management? Well, we've categorised it into 3 categories. So we've got awareness raising, advice and training, and catchment scale interventions, which I'll go through on the next slide. And the level of effort and engagement increases with each one of those phases. So for awareness raising, we can do things like press releases, radio, social media, to raise awareness about certain issues within catchments. But obviously that's only going to get us so far. So in some instances, we need to go that step further. So this is where the advice and training comes in, and we work very closely with organisations such as Teagasc and ASAP to get that advice on the ground where it's needed. And in particular, we've done a lot of work over the last number of years focused on promoting best practice for pesticide use and storage through our work with the National Pesticides and Drinking Water Action Group. So we also do pilot source protection projects. Excuse me. And so far to date, we've undertaken 2 of these projects which have focused on reducing the risk of pesticides at our sources. The first was the Source to Tap project, which some of you may have heard of. It was a cross-border Interreg-funded project that we worked on with Northern Ireland Water and the Rivers Trust, among other agencies. As part of this project, 118 landowners benefited from a land incentive scheme, which encouraged alternative land management practices to improve water quality. And as a result of the project, pesticide concentrations reduced in the River Derg by 50%. We developed new insights into pesticide dynamics in river systems, in particular for a herbicide called MCPA. And we also undertook a cost-benefit analysis, which demonstrated that for every £1 spent on the land incentive scheme, there would be a reduction in water treatment costs at the Northern Ireland Derg water treatment plant of £3.36 and improved catchment ecosystem services as well. Our second pilot project is called the Eireann Water Source Protection Project, and this is an Uisce Éireann initiative that started back in 2021 as part of a commitment under the River Basin Management Plan. But we work in collaboration with the National Pesticides and Drinking Water Action Group on this project as well. To date, 35 farmers have received water and environmental management plans, identifying bespoke measures which are currently being rolled out on the ground in a targeted area of the catchment. We've had very good engagement with this project, and more farmers are actually looking to get involved, which is great. And we hope to do more projects of this kind over the next number of years, and focusing on other parameters and not just pesticides as well. So there are many challenges to measuring the effectiveness of catchment management. How do we understand what the actions we've taken have contributed to improved water quality outcomes? It's very difficult to measure, especially against the backdrop of external influences such as land use change, seasonal practices, weather patterns, and changing flows year on year. So what we try to do is use a weight of evidence approach. So we monitor our inputs, our outputs, and our outcomes. So our inputs are our partnerships, our evidence base that we put into the process. The outputs are the actual catchment management actions. So what are we doing on the ground? So we try to track not only what Uisce Éireann are doing, but also what other stakeholders are doing in the catchments that might contribute to these improved water quality outcomes. And then in terms of outcomes, that's our drinking water compliance results, which is probably an easier one to measure, but sometimes it takes a bit of time to see the results. And we're also looking to measure more qualitative outcomes this year, looking at trying to track behavioural change. So I'd just like to finish up by giving a specific example of when we've worked with stakeholders in a particular catchment to help improve the source water quality, and that's the Newport supply in County Mayo. So since 2016, there had been sporadic exceedances of the drinking water standard for pesticide, MCPA, which is a herbicide used to treat weeds, and glyphosate, which is a broad-spectrum herbicide. In 2020, the National Pesticides and Drinking Water Action Group set up a catchment focus group for Newport in response to an increased frequency of exceedances of the pesticides. So the group came together, and at a local scale, the first thing we did was developed our conceptual model for the catchment, and we tried to understand our pathways and our sources, and use that to help inform where we should do additional catchment monitoring, which was undertaken by the Animal, Plant and Health Association. We also raised awareness at a local level on radio and print and even a TV appearance. And the ASAP programme provided one-to-one advice on best practices of pesticide use and storage, because it happened to be within a priority area for action, which was great. And that was followed up by targeted text messages to keep reminding and reinforcing the messages. So since establishing the Catchment Focus Group back in 2020, we've seen a significant reduction in the number of pesticide exceedances in the supply. First in 2022 with a 60% reduction in pesticide exceedances, and then last year we had no recorded pesticide exceedances. So I'd say in this instance, having a relatively small catchment and a local champion that was very persistent is what drove the success, and that was Mary Roach in ASAP, and I know she's presented on this case study at other conferences. I'd just like to highlight that catchment management isn't necessarily a short-term solution. It takes a bit of time to get things off the ground and start to see results. But the alternative would be an expensive treatment process to treat pesticides, such as activated carbon. This is very energy intensive and creates an unsustainable waste stream because carbon filters have to be replaced. So also, these end-of-pipe solutions don't benefit biodiversity or the community. So this is just one case study, but overall, we've seen a 50% reduction in the number of pesticide exceedances nationally through the work that we've undertaken alongside the National Pesticides and Drinking Water Action Group. Oh, sorry, I had a slide on Newport. So just the last slide, just to sum up that collaboration is key to protecting and improving our drinking water sources. And I wasn't able to name everyone on this slide, but I would just like to say thank you to all the stakeholders and the public that have worked with us over the last number of years to help protect our drinking water sources. And I look forward to doing more work with you in the future. Thanks.